Welcome to The Photography Guy. I'm your host, The Photography Guy. Let's get started here with another great photo show. Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome back once again to The Photography Guy. This is episode number 60 for Sunday, October the 26th, 2014. I'm your host, Jack, and I'm going to bring you into this magical world of photography, clicking our shutters, taking those photographs, and everything digital and editing. So we're going to be doing that all. Hey, thank you for coming here this morning and joining me to learn more about your camera and making great photographs. Please check out the website at thephotographyguy.net, where you can comment on all these shows, and I wish that you would do that. If you're listening to the audio podcast on iTunes, do me a favor and click up on top. And if you're not even listening to the podcast, you're watching the videos, which is fine. And I appreciate you being here live, and I love that you're watching the YouTube videos. Do me a favor there, go to iTunes, search for Jack's Tech Corner, and look for The Photography Guy. And when you find that, click on the top of the link. There's a place on there where you can add comments. That will help to boost my ratings in iTunes. So I would appreciate that you would do that for me. But if you are listening to the audio podcast, please check us out on YouTube. And that channel is 42 Technoman. The number 4, the number 2, Technoman. If you want to learn more about digital photography and photo editing, go to the website jtclearning.com. And I'm still working on that site. I know I say that every week, but it's definitely a labor of love because it takes a lot of time to create all those videos to put up there. But the Photoshop Elements 12 lessons are complete. They're ready to go. So for the low price, you're getting 50 videos. That's 50. And that's unheard of around the internet. So you'll get hours of training on Photoshop Elements. Please join our Facebook group if you're not on the group. And that group is Jack's Tech Corner. Okay, so we're going to get underway here and get right into the show this morning, as always. But first, let me kick this out to folks there in the chat room. Good morning to Jake. I appreciate you stopping by this morning. And good morning to Vicky. And hello to both of you. Hopefully we can get some more folks in there this morning. But if not, that's okay because people are picking this up on YouTube after the fact. I always say we live in a DVR world. You know, everything seems to be recorded nowadays. And we all watch it later because somebody at work will say, "Hey, Jack, did you see such and such show?" I said, "I don't even know when that show's on," because we record everything we watch, and we watch it later, and that's what makes it nice with the YouTube videos. Today we're going to talk a little bit, obviously, about the title on this show. Talks about monitor calibration, and we're going to be watching a couple videos together on monitor calibration that I found I think are really good. And what brings us to this is a question from Facebook. Now, Facebook is great because you guys can post your questions there, and I pick those up, and I play around with them. I say, can I build a show around that question? And I did that this week. So the question came from Greg. And if you're on a Facebook group, you've probably read this already. Greg started this question last night, but the end was cut short. He edits a ton of real estate photos on Photoshop using his desktop PC running Windows 7. When they are viewed on the iPad or on the tablet, etc., they look spectacular. But when he sees them on the monitor, they don't look quite the same. What can I do so what I see on my monitor will look to be exactly what's on my iPad or a different monitor? If so, can anybody suggest one way to look at this for me? The first thing as I was reading that, Greg, I have to bring this up to you, is if you bought one of the new iPads out there with the Retina display, that is going to kind of blow away any monitors you're going to buy at this point. Unless you buy a Retina-based monitor or a 4K monitor, that would even get the pictures to look that much greater. What we're going to be discussing today is more or less color balancing of your monitors, how to calibrate your monitor, to get the correct color. But again, if you're using a Retina display iPad, it's not much going to look like that, except the new, they have a new 5K iMac out, and they have a new Apple. I'm talking about Apple. Apple also has the Retina-based laptops, and then your pictures will look just as spectacular as they do on a Retina display iPad. Now, of course, if you have the older versions of iPad, then that whole thing doesn't even matter at that point. So, the first thing we're going to do, though, before we get into talking about that, is we're going to look a little bit about our camera. So I'm going to switch over to another camera in my studio here and turn around so I can discuss your camera yourself and give you a little bit of tips that I found over this week that are really, really helpful. So let me go ahead and do that. Let me switch cameras here. And we're going to try to get the microphone turned around here so I can talk to you. And it looks like the audio is holding up pretty good. The audio's there. You guys can hear me okay. And we are going to simply work with our camera. So I'll get this microphone here around here. And now we can talk about this. What I'm going to talk to you about today with your camera itself is very simply a way that you can view your white balance settings, before you take the picture. So many times we turn the camera on, we take a picture, and then we change the white balance setting on our camera. And first of all, let me go back. Why am I telling you this? Well, if you don't capture the proper coloring of your subject, then all the coloring calibration you're going to do on your monitors is a bust, right? It's going to be a total waste of time. So you have to first be able to take your camera and get the proper white balance. And if you look at some videos from last season, you'll see that I went out in the winter and I used what's called a gray card. Now, a gray card is okay because then you get a custom white balance, and it's a wonderful way of doing things. They also have little devices that you can put on your lens, and you can get a white balance that way, and those are a lot faster. I've never purchased one because they're a little pricey. The gray cards, cost you about $1, maybe $2 from eBay. All right, and those are 18% gray, so if you're looking for that's an 18% gray card. But today I thought with our camera itself, we're going to talk, now this is my D600 Nikon, and I would imagine Canon has this same type of deal. I would also imagine any point and shoot that you have that you're using should also do this. I've tested on a point and shoot before and it worked, so most point and shoots should be able to do this. What we're talking about today, very simply, is being able to see the different white balance settings on the camera as you're looking at the live view. So on your camera, on the back of the D600, it has a button here. I don't know if you can see or not, but it is called Live View. It's right inside where you can do still pictures or video. There's a little button that says LV. Now, if we have the camera on and we hit LV, you can see that it turns the live view on. I'm going to try to turn this backwards so you can see me through there. That's the live view. Now, what the live view allows you to do, it allows you to see live what you're going to be taking a picture of. So many people hold the camera out like this, in front of them, and people are looking through iPads and stuff. We were on vacation recently, and we went to, a couple shows, and the people are holding their iPads out. And that's okay, but what happens is the people behind you now are watching the whatever through the iPad, and I think that's kind of rude for people to do that. I don't think you should take photographs with the iPad, unless it's just of your kids out in the yard. That's fine, but if you're at a concert for the kids and you're holding your iPad up, that's very rude. Such as this: if you hold your cameras, if your camera only has a display on the back and you're holding it out and you're looking, that's very rude. Hold it in close, get a good look at it, and then take the picture. That's okay. Why do people have to hold it up? I don't know. Anyway, enough further rambling. What we're going to do here, on the back of my Nikon, it has a button with the question mark and the key lock. And up above it, it says WB, if you can see that. I don't know if you can see that or not. But it says WB on there, and that is the white balance settings. But what I wanted to show you today was you can take your camera, keep it in live view, hold the white balance setting in, and turning the little knob on the back of the Nikon, Again, the Canon and your point and shoots will have this some way to change your white balance when you're looking through the live view. So we're going to hold the button down and we're going to change that. We're going to change the white balance to different settings. And when you do that, you will see the change in the color that you're about to shoot. Now, why do we want to do this? Well, the reason we do this is to get the view before we snap the shot. So many times we take a picture, you know, we look at it. What do they call that? Chimping. We take a picture and we chimp. We look at it. We take a picture and we chimp. We look at it again. Well, that doesn't look very professional. If you can just take the picture once, so if you hold it up and you change your white balance, and folks, let me tell you something about white balance. And I know we've went over this in the past. Even if you're shooting on a cloudy day, you may try to use a white balance of flash. You might try to use a white balance of a cloudy day on a sunny day, because you may get better color in your picture. There might be a reason you want to do that. One time I took my son out a while ago, and I think I've told a lot of people this, but there's a lot of new viewers to these shows. So one time I took my son out. We went down to Pittsburgh and we did some shooting, and I showed him that with water and with skies, sometimes you are better to set your white balance on a setting that will actually cool the picture. And everybody understands what cooling the picture means, right? Oh, wait, you don't understand what cooling the picture means. Cooling the picture means your picture will have more of a bluish cast to it. So when you take a picture, and if you change your white balance, now granted, most of us, I do the same, you know, I'm guilty of it. Most of us shoot everything in automatic white balance. Why? Because our digital cameras today are so good, they're so advanced, that it can adjust the white balance for you pretty well. But when you want to get creative, when you want to do something different, then you will take that camera, put it on live view, and then look at those different white balances and see what you're looking for. So here I just switched it to the incandescent lighting, and that's a sign of a light bulb. And when I did that, it kind of made the walls around me more blue. So it's telling me it's cooling it down a little bit. It's changing that total temperature of the picture itself, and not hot or cold, obviously. So that is cooling the picture. It gets more blue. So if you go the other way, if you increase it and you increase the picture itself, or you make the picture warmer, you're going to start making the picture more red or more amber color, I guess it is. And, you know, you can use that. I used that when I was on vacation for the sunset pictures, because I was able to make it even more dramatic. You know, again, automatic will work, but if you can get the dramatic shot in these cameras, then go ahead and do that. That's why all these different features are on the camera. So again, this happens to be the Nikon. I know all the Nikon line does it, from the D, 5300 all the way up to the D810 now will do it. So you have that setting for live view, and you can do the white balancing. So there you go. And, you know, I don't know everybody's cameras out there, so I can't tell you what your camera could be, but that's a great way to be able to do it. So, again, it's live view. Now, live view, I can warn you that live view does use up more of your battery power, because it has that screen turned on the back the whole time. And it also seems to slow the shutter down a little bit. Let me see if I can hear, you can hear this. Okay, listen. You can see how it slows the shutter down. It's like click, click, and then it goes back up. Let's turn the live view off. Now listen to the shutter. You can hear how much faster that shutter was. So, again, it's totally up to you. I would use it when you're looking for your creative side. And then when you're not looking for your creative side, you just want to get some good pictures, like on vacation. Most of my pictures were shot on auto white balance. So, and again, we can do another whole class one time. Maybe we will one day, of using a gray card, how to set custom white balances. The only problem is with that, you have to be able to have your manual for your camera, and you're going to have to take that camera itself and learn how to set a custom white balance. I can show you on a Nikon because that's what I have. And I know that's what my buddy Jake there uses. I'm not sure what Vicky is shooting with these days, but so anybody out there, I don't know every camera, and so don't start emailing me and say, Jack, well, how do I do this on a Fujifilm 4800? I don't know. I don't have a Fujifilm 4800 to practice with to tell you how to do that. But if you look it up online or get your manual out, it will tell you how to set custom white balances. Okay, so the white balance is directly related to the overall color of the picture. All right. So if we're shooting we always go back to shooting a wedding because that's the whitest thing I can think about, a white gown of the bride. And if you have your pictures too cool, the dress is going to come out with a bluish cast to it. Now let's reverse that and say we have our pictures too warm. If we have our pictures too warm, you're going to end up with a yellowing cast. It's very hard to get rid of. Not impossible, just hard because you have a lot of editing to do, and it won't make you happy to do all that editing. It just won't. So that's something to think about, folks. Is your white balance of your camera is directly related to color. Okay, now we're going to do here, we're going to switch over. Hopefully everything works here for me this morning, and you'll be able to see this. But we're going to switch over now, and I'm going to show you a video where I took my daughter out. We went out and did some shooting at a local park, and I talk about these white balance settings, and then I show you some samples of what's going on. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, you can listen to this and pick up on some pointers. But you may want to jump over to the video at 42 Technoman on YouTube and catch the video for the photography guy. It's in a playlist where you can learn and you can watch along with us here. So that's where the video is really, really powerful. So let's go ahead. We're going to switch over to that video now, and hopefully it's going to play here. So we're going to try to check this out. And why you should white balance your camera and what white balance does. I'm going to take a series of photographs here, again of my model here, and we'll use different white balances so you can see the effects on these pictures as we're going through them. And I'm going to tell you a nice little secret about white balance, especially if you're using a 35mm DSLRs or if you're using a really high-end point and shoot that you can shoot in RAW mode. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So let's go ahead and start shooting these pictures. The first one's going to be in an automatic mode. Now we're shooting in a light mode, like it would be like a house light, like a bulb. You can see where it blued down there. Now we're going to be shooting one in a fluorescent lighting. This one is in the sunshine mode. This is in a flash mode, and we'll use a flash. A cloudy mode. And then the last one on my particular camera, on this camera, this is my Nikon D80, it's probably like your actual 35mm DSLRs. The last one is actually custom white balance. Now that's what I wanted to tell you about. You can custom white balance your cameras using a gray card, a natural gray card. And they sell tons of gadgets out there where you can put them on top of your lens there, and you can actually shoot, and it sets the white balance for you. Those are fine if you want to spend $99 or so. But I really enjoy just using a gray card and getting a white balance. The next thing though, seriously, if your camera can shoot in camera raw mode and you're concerned about the white balance, you're not sure, shoot in raw mode. When you get back into your Photoshop Elements, Photoshop, or Lightroom, you can actually pull those in and adjust the white balance at the time when you're editing. So you have that option also. Okay, so that's it on white balance. Hopefully it makes some sense to you as we look through these different shots. And I went through each one, and we'll explain that to you as we go through the shots, and then we'll go on to the next lesson. I'll see you there. Okay, so you get the idea there of how your settings on your white balance will change your overall color tone, and how that tone is set by, just simply changing the white balance. It's so really important. Now, that last one I talked about there using the flash, I'm going to clarify that is, you don't, just because you put your white balance on flash itself on the camera, you don't have to worry about turning the flash on. And in reverse of that, if you turn your flash on, or you pop up your flash on your camera, wherever my camera went here. So we popped up our flash on our camera, and we don't necessarily have to set the white balance to flash. The reason you're doing that is you're trying to tell your camera, you're syncing your camera up to the light of the flash itself. Could you try it? Sure, you can try it, but you don't necessarily have to do it. I shoot more flash photography on auto than I can even imagine to tell you how many I've shot that way. So, but it's a great way to do it. Again, just play around with your camera. Get out there and take some pictures. That's the key element. If you take these pictures, get these cameras off of automatic. We don't need to shoot everything on automatic. Use your creative side. I know you're all photographers out there, and maybe not by trade, like myself. I mean, I'm a technologist by trade. That's what I do for a living. And I always call myself an amateur photographer. I mean, I've, taken classes on photography, and I've also, gotten paid to do photography. And people say, once you get paid, then you're professional. But I think I'm a professional amateur. Maybe I'm caught in that middle somewhere where, yeah, I made a couple dollars from it, but it's more like I like to play around with it and look at that creative side and see what can I do with my photos and how can I make them different. And actually, I'm working on, believe it or not, today I'm thinking of working on a lesson already for next week. So I'm trying to put that together, and it's already running in my head, the creative side of what I want to do. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about now is we are going to talk simply about calibrating your monitors. So we learned about white balance. We learned how critical that is to white balance your cameras and make sure those cameras are white balanced and ready to go. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the color balancing of the monitor. There's two ways you can do it. And for those of us out there that have Macs, I don't have a Mac video, but if you look around YouTube, you will find one of how to calibrate a Mac. I gear this towards a lot of people that watch these shows have Windows. Now, but the first one will work with your Mac. The first one is called a spider. Now, if you've never seen a spider, and I didn't buy one, I looked at them, but they're $200. So even on eBay, you may get a little bit cheaper, but most of it's $200. Anyway, the spider itself is a device that you'll see. It goes. There's a cord that goes over top of your monitor, and it goes right on your monitor. It comes with software that will custom calibrate your monitor based on either RGB, RGB color, or you can do the color itself of. Trying to think the other color, the Adobe. There's an Adobe color. So either one of those. And good morning to Brian. Thanks for joining us here this morning. And in this video, we're going to go ahead and watch. I didn't create these videos, so I want to give a shout out to the folks that did create these videos. So I'm using a couple videos I found, but I always say, why recreate the wheel? And I don't have the device that this guy has. So he's going to show you this first one. These videos are short, so hang in there with me, and then I'll be back. We're going to watch the first one, then I'll come back on for the next one here. But the first one is called Calibrating Your Monitor, and it's a really good. Shut this off because I don't want my branding over this guy's video. So here you go. We're going to bring this up.
A couple of weeks ago, my computer monitor blew up. Well, it didn't actually blow up, but it stopped working. I'd had it for a long time, quite a few years. but all the colors went funny and it was no good anymore. So I had to invest in a new monitor. This is a very high quality ISO monitor. It's designed for photography and video editing and for graphics professionals. But even though it's a new monitor, you need to make sure, if you're really interested in getting the very best out of your images, you need to make sure that your monitor is calibrated so you get the very best color. Because there's nothing worse than trying to work on your images and the color being wrong, and then finding when you output the images that they don't look the same as they did on your screen. Now, there's an easy way around this. This device that I've got here, this is not a mouse. It looks like a mouse, but it's not a mouse. This is a densitometer. And a densitometer is a device that measures color and measures density. And on this one, it comes with some software that you install on your computer first. And that allows you, or allows this machine to measure the colors on the screen and calibrate the screen to get it absolutely accurate. Now, you can get these things from specialized photography retailers or computer retailers. This is the X-Rite system, and it's connected via a USB port. And I'm just going to show you, while I'm doing this the first time on this screen, how you do this. Basically, you just put that over the top of the monitor, get it fixed somewhere roughly in the middle, and then you need to tilt the screen backwards somewhat so that it just stays in place. And then you go down to the software on the screen for the calibration, and that one there is the I1 match, and it's pretty much all automated. You just run through the process, follow the instructions. So I'm just going to click through there, advanced level, stage 2, and it's asking me what type of screen I've got. It's an LCD, and then it's asking me the gamma and the white balance. I know that the white balance on this monitor is 6500K, and I'm going to use a gamma of 2 as my choice of gamma. That's the contrast setting that is programmed in the screen. You can vary those on some screens. Mac screens are usually a gamma of 1.8. Windows screens are usually a gamma of 2.2. I like working at a gamma of 2. And I'm going to move on from there. And it just adjusted the screen just then automatically, ready to make its calibration. And now I basically get ready to start that. And RGB controls. Next step is adjusting RGB presets. And there we go. And now this is just going to take care of itself basically. What you're seeing it there that it's doing at the moment is it's identifying where the actual densitometer is on the screen. So it's creating these patches, figuring out where the densitometer is, and it's going to narrow it down to that zone. And once it's calculated that, it will run through a series of color tests and experiments to figure out the correct colors. So I'm going to leave that, get on with that for a while, and we'll come back and look at the finished result of what it looked like before and after. Okay, that looks like it's completed. So what it's done is it's created a color profile which it saves in the computer's color profiles, and we can then select that profile as the one that we want to use in conjunction with this monitor. So let's just have a look at the before and after, and we'll see the difference. If I say calibration off, there we go, and calibration on. So you can see there's a huge difference in how it would have been displayed. And it's now set to activate a reminder for me to calibrate this every week. I've got it set on a weekly basis. Say finish calibration. That calibration profile has been created, and it's as simple as that. So a really easy way to make sure that your screen is at its optimum in terms of displaying the colors that you want to use to work on in photography and photography related software. Making sure that your output is going to match as close as possible to your screen display.
Okay, so there is actually, there you go. There's an actual point in that I wanted to talk to you about that video. Did you see when he brought the software itself came up on the screen? Not only will those things calibrate your monitor, it will also calibrate your scanner, because I know a lot of you out there scan photos, and we did some old retouching of photos before, and you scan those pictures in. Well, it will also calibrate your scanner. It will also calibrate a projector. And no, it will not calibrate your camera. So there you go. And did you hear about the RGB profile? It created a color profile at the end. And he didn't really go into it. But if you're in Lightroom, or if you're in Photoshop, or if you're in Photoshop Elements, you can change that profile. So it's going to save the profiles in the computer's profile folder, wherever that folder lies. But those programs know where that folder is. So when you go into those programs and you click Change Profile, now you can change the profile based on maybe date. You know, maybe that's the date of the when it was calibrated. And you can change your profile, change it to that date. And he said he set his up to recalibrate weekly. So there you have it. The next video we're going to watch here is just a short video. And what the video is going to be talking about, and for those, again, on the podcast, just listen, because they describe what they're doing pretty well in these videos. So just listen. But what this video is going to tell you how to do is how to calibrate a Windows 7 computer monitor without having a spider or any device that you can buy that you put on the monitor, because, again, those are a couple $100. So if you're a professional photographer, I would say yes. I would say buy one of those, because if you're editing a picture and it looks beautiful on your screen, or whatever, the colors are adjusted for your screen, you get it printed and it comes back and the colors are way off. That's a problem. Also, just to let you know, as a heads up, most of the professional developers, such as SmugMug, who you know sponsors these shows, SmugMug, has been a friend of these shows for quite a while. They have a way, before you're going to order the pictures, as well as Shutterfly, as well as, all these other developing companies, because SmugMug, if you've ever used them yet, they're not really a developing company. They are more of a selling company. So you put your pictures up there and you're going to sell your photographs to a client, but you're going to develop through another entity is how they do. They work with all these other companies. But let's say Shutterfly or Snapfly or any of these. Oh, and Jake says that. Jake says he owns a spider. Why would I think anything less, Jake? I'm glad that you do. Maybe you can send it to me. I can use it, and then I'll mail it back to you. Jake is a person in our chat room here this morning, and Jake's talking. He owns a Spider 4 Express. He said it's worth the dollars, as it only takes 5 minutes to set up the monitor. 5 minutes. So the next way we're going to show you, though, is a little bit of trial and error. I think you're going to have to work with it a little bit. But if you can afford to buy the Spider Express or the Spider, man, go out and buy it, because you're definitely going to, it's worth the money, as Jake said. So let's go ahead, without holding you up here and without babbling, because everybody watches these shows know that Jack likes to babble sometimes. We're going to go ahead with this next video. It talks about how to adjust a computer monitor using Windows 7. Sit back, relax, sip your coffee, and watch this.
Let me ask you a question. Is your computer display calibrated? Let's find out. Do you see 6 circles on your screen? The circles on the left should be faint and barely visible, but you should be able to see them. For photography, most monitors need to be calibrated because the factory settings are usually just too bright. If you make brightness and contrast adjustments using a photo editor, this creates images that are usually too dark when printed. It also stands to reason when surfing the internet, you'll not be seeing images the way the maker actually intended. If your monitor is calibrated properly, black should be a deep black and white should be crisp with detail, and subtle colors will also display better. In this monitor test image, detail should be seen everywhere, even in the shadows. I'll get to calibrating with free software in a minute, but first I want to talk a bit about color sensor devices for calibration. Serious photographers should consider a calibration system like the Huey Pro or the Color Monkey. I personally use a Color Monkey to calibrate not only my monitor but also a projector and a printer. With the hardware systems, a color sensor is placed in front of the display and it collects data from different levels of red, green, blue, and white. Software can only collect one level of data from each color. Hence, the hardware-based calibration is superior. That being said, the software solution is still amazingly good and, best of all, extremely economical. Most users of Windows 7 do not realize that Microsoft has included in the operating system a way to calibrate your monitor. Now, I don't recommend it, but I think you should be aware of it, and I'm going to show it to you by clicking on Start, typing in the word Display. One of the items in the list is Calibrate Display Color. Clicking on that will bring up a window with instructions on it. I'm going to quickly page through here to the first adjustment, which is adjusting the gamma. You adjust this slider until the circles in this square become blended together. The next adjustment, and I'm going to quickly page through here again, is adjusting your red and your green and your blue sliders. Microsoft says to adjust those until the color cast is completely gone from these gray bars and you are left with a neutral gray color. The problem is not everybody knows what neutral gray looks like, and therein lies the problem and why I don't recommend this software. In my opinion, the absolutely best software option is Quick Gamma. There are two versions of Quick Gamma, one for Windows Vista and XP and another for Windows 7 and versions beyond Windows 7. I've posted download links and installation instructions at ptgamma.com. ptgamma.com is actually part of the Phototopics website, but I wouldn't go there quite yet. I'd finish watching the video before I do the installation. So let's take a look at how Quick Gamma works. When you open Quick Gamma, you'll be presented with a user account control. And the reason for this is Microsoft, starting with Windows 7, put some extra security measures into the operating system. And what this is really asking you is if you want to let Quick Gamma install ICC profiles for your monitor. And so you should just click Yes and continue on. When Quick Gamma finishes installing, it will automatically bring up its help file screen. There's one last thing you need to do before you actually start using Quick Gamma. Click on Prerequisites and install the runtime libraries. There's a lot of other helpful information in the help file, so when you get time, I would go ahead and read it. If you don't already have the installation instructions up on your screen, go down to Internet Explorer and open that up. Go to your URL bar and type in ptgamma.com. That'll bring you back to here. The first thing we need to do is open up the Phototopics gamma chart. This can be moved around. If you need to go through the video tutorial again, you can click here. It'll open it up. You can reposition the screen. I don't need it, so we're going to close it out. Go ahead and open Quick Gamma. Click Yes on the user account control. And you can reposition the Quick Gamma window too. This is a grayscale adjustment. We're not going to use that because the better way to use Quick Gamma is to actually adjust the red, the green, and the blue independently. So if you go up here and click on Gamma, that will bring up the Quick Gamma chart. The generally accepted standard for gamma is 2.2. The Phototopics gamma chart here is set at a fixed value of 2.2. The gamma chart over here for quick gamma gives you the option of adjusting between 1.6 and 2.4. But since we're only interested in 2.2, we're only going to be using the Phototopics gamma chart. You can find instructions on how to use the quick gamma chart in their help file. They have a pretty good tutorial there. So making the actual adjustments is quite easy. First, let's adjust the red level. And in the red rectangle over here, you will see two squares, one on the left, one on the right. Well, watching these two squares, if you change the red level by either increasing it with the plus button or decreasing it with the minus button, and as you're doing that, you watch the two squares, you will find a point at which the two squares become blended together and they actually look like one color. Once that happens, you've reached a gamma level of 2.2. Just a suggestion, if you sit back from your screen about 2 feet, maybe even squint your eyes a little bit, it'll help you see when those two squares have blended together. So, go ahead and do the same thing for the green and the blue. Once you've adjusted everything so that all of the squares are blended together, you're done with your calibration. You can go over here and click on OK. The only other thing you need to do is you need to make sure that for Windows 7 the sRGB button has been pressed and the button is highlighted. For Vista and XP, you want to make sure that the standby support button is enabled. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and click on OK. That'll open up a window that says that your ICC profile has been saved, and all you need to do then is X out. That's it. You're done calibrating. But before I end, just a word about displays. First, be sure to let your monitor warm up for 30 minutes before doing your final calibration. Second, you need to know that all monitors are not created equal, and not all monitors are capable of displaying the full range of gamma levels. In other words, even after being calibrated, you may not be able to see all 6 circles on the Phototopics gamma chart. And unless you have an in-plane switching monitor, changing your viewing angle will drastically change the apparent gamma level. If you're using a notebook computer, just change the angle of the screen while watching the gamma chart, and you'll see what I mean. You might want to consider downloading the Phototopics gamma chart and view it from time to time to see how your screen is doing. Until then, this is the best you can do with the display you have. That's it. You can now go to ptgamma.com and follow the installation instructions to install Quick Gamma. And be sure to visit phototopics.net for more photography articles.
Okay, very good. So you get the idea now on the changing of the display and how important that is and how easy it is with the video there. And I want to thank those two gentlemen there for using their videos on my show here today. And like I said, I don't like to reinvent the wheel. Now, as that show was going on, I decided that I was going to play around a little bit because it wouldn't be fair to so many people out there, that are using their Macs to say, Jack, you know, you preach Mac all the time for photos and you didn't show it. So I'm going to show you very simply how to do this. We're going to switch over to my desktop here. Let me just do a selection here so I can try to, I might have to reselect this a couple times, folks. What we're going to do here is show you how you can adjust it with a Mac using the Mac's built-in software. I'm going to take this off of here. All right. So we're going to bring this up. Now, this is the system preferences for the Mac is what we're talking about here. Now, in anything, you would always start, and so many people get confused, and they call me and they email me and say, Jack, look, I don't know what I'm looking for in the display preferences or in the control panel. You're looking for the exact word that you want to work on. So this morning we're talking about displays. Let's click on display. And in this display panel, it's normally set on display like this, okay, at the beginning there. So there's 3 little tab buttons: display, arrangement, because I have 2 monitors. You can have 2 or 3, and then color is the last tab. Now you see here where mine says iMac calibrated, because I've calibrated this in the past. To calibrate a Mac, it is so simple that a caveman can do it. Did he say caveman? Do you ever see his commercials where the caveman looks over his shoulder? What? Are you saying something bad about cavemen? Anyway, get back to the topic here, Jack. So we're going here to iMac calibrate, but we're going to go over here. We can open a profile. This is where I was telling you earlier about these profiles that those programs save. It's the same on Windows. There'll be a place there where you can change the profile, and you can change it to the profile based on what was saved in one of those programs that the gentleman was just talking about. But we're going to go to calibrate, and on the Mac, there's a calibration assistance. You just walk through this. I got an expert mode, but you can turn that off and just hit continue, and you can do Gamma 2.2 as standard or Gamma 1.8. So you can do either one of those. And you've seen my screen. You may not have noticed that, but it's got a lot brighter. So let's go Gamma 2.2. You would continue that, and native, use the native white point of this display. Click continue. iMac calibrated. Now you can do this at different times. So let's just put on here 2014 because I'm doing it now. So I'll put 2014, hit continue. And at that point, it was that quick, and the monitor calibrated itself based on those gammas. Click OK. Now you can see here on my thing where it says iMac calibrated 2014. So that old profile, there's the old one, and I'm looking at it, it's a little bit darker, the blacks. So I'm going to stick with that one. And I think the reason is when I went through this before, I used the expert mode, and I selected a lot of my white points and black points and everything by hand. But you can see that's a lot brighter, and that's a lot darker. It's really hard to see here with you looking at it this way, but there you go. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's see. So Jake says the Spider 4 Express reminds him each month to recalibrate monthly. And you should, because, and this is the reason why, and a lot of people they lose track of this. I'm going to tell you, let me get rid of that. Bring up my main camera again. And the reason why people lose track of that and say, why do I got to calibrate monthly? If I calibrate my monitor, it must be fine. I'm not moving it. I'm not changing the lighting in my room. It must be fine. Here's the reason. As our monitors get older over time, they start to burn pixels. And what I mean by burning pixels is the light in the monitor, the LCD, can start to get worn over time. Monthly, you know, it's good to do it every month because then you get on a routine. But I would say more like every yearly, it would start to burn down a little bit and get a little bit less. Did you ever notice on your monitor where you had to start cranking up the brightness controls? So you bring up the brightness, you bring up the brightness, you bring up the brightness. The reason that happens is because that monitor is aging. People believe that a monitor should last as long as a refrigerator. Think how long your refrigerator has been in your kitchen. Probably a long time. Or a washer and dryer. Or as we was talking about this morning, my lawnmower. But in honesty and in truth, it does not. I mean, you should get a new one over time. That's why I'm trying to talk my wife into let me buy the new iMac 5K display. She said, "What's wrong with your Mac?" And I said, you never know what to say to your spouse. So I said, "Nothing. It works fine." "Oh, well, then you don't need one." All right, we are going to take a quick look here before I close out this radio show and this video this morning. And welcome to all the viewers in there this morning. We've got a good bit of viewers on live with us. And if you're not in the chat room, jump in there, say good morning so we know who you are. But we are going to take a look right now. This is Lightroom. If you don't have Lightroom, that's okay. What I'm going to show you here, though, is just a little bit of I just wanted to show you a little bit of the dramatic changes that color temperature has on a photo. And I know we talked about it with white balancing our cameras this morning, but I also wanted to show you, and I think the best way to do that is, well, I was trying to find out how to shut my picture off there. Oh, I know what to do with it. Actually, we're going to just do that with it, and we're going to dissolve this over. Okay, so this is the actual picture from my radio show. We are showing a picture of a waterfall with some green trees with a light blue sky. This is shot at a place called Ohio Powell here in Pennsylvania. It's in the Uniontown Mountains. If you ever get a chance to go up there, take a ride. It's a beautiful, beautiful park. We were going to go there yesterday, and I said, man, I have so many pictures from there now. I don't think anything has changed, so we didn't go yesterday. We decided to do something else. But anyway, what I'm going to show you with the white balancing of this is Lightroom does a good job. But again, this is not a Lightroom tutorial. This is just to show you the dramatic changes of color based on temperature. Now, white balance is as shot. And we can see this is an NEF file up here in the corner. If you can see that, that tells me that's a raw file. And we're going to be doing more about raw files in a couple weeks because I got an email. John wants to know if you can open up a JPEG in a raw file editor. What's the difference? So we're going to be talking a lot about that real soon because I think we need to touch base with that again. But anyway, what we're going to do here, white balance is as shot, or I can change this to any one of these different settings: auto, daylight, cloudy, shady, tungsten, which is a light bulb, right? Fluorescent, which is a tube, flash, or custom. Now, you can change those white balances on the fly because this is shot in camera raw. If you're not shooting in camera raw, and you don't have to do it all the time. Camera raw has its places, and you don't have to shoot every picture in camera raw. But if you're going out like I do with the, what's my card? 256 megabyte, is that right? Yeah, 256 megabyte memory card. No, that's not right. 32 megabyte memory card. That's right. So I have a 32 megabyte SD card on my camera. I got plenty of room. If I'm going out, like when Brian came to town, we went out and we shot some photos here, and we went to a lake, and we went to a park. We caught some great images. We went to see some waterfalls. We shot all day on, I'm pretty sure Brian did. I know I did. I shot on color raw. And the reason I shot on color raw was because I knew I came back and I can adjust all these different settings. So the white balances, I'm just going to use my little eyedropper here in Lightroom and pick out a white point. And I can see the tip of these falls are pretty white on my picture. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to click on that. And you can see the overall color tone of the whole entire picture changed just because I did a custom white balance. So let's say here we wanted to see the dramatic changing. And did you notice on a white balance, it's set to temperature and tint. We're going to look at temperature. We're going to go extreme left. When you go extreme left temperature on any editing software, you're cooling the picture down. We're going to cool the picture down. Look how it gets blue, right? We cooled it, and that's pretty dramatic. It doesn't look bad, right? You might want to frame that, except for those trees being kind of drastically blue. Now, so that is cooling the picture. We talked about that at the beginning of the show today with our camera, and I was showing you the settings. Now, we can also go extreme right, and we can start to warm this picture up. Remember I told you if you warm it, you get that orangey glowing cast to it. And you can see that glowing cast in there. That is warming the picture. If you double click, it will actually set it back to where it started. If you double click on the setting here. Again, the best way that I truly love to set my white balance is you can play with this and say, I don't know what I like. I like a little cooler. Some guys like it a little bit cooler. It'll kind of like those trees are turning green. But for me, for a true white balance, I like to use my little eyedropper tool. I pick out a nice white part of the scene. I click on it, and I allow Photoshop Lightroom to do that for me. So again, it's very easy to do. It's a piece of cake, and anyway, you get the idea. Bring us back over here. Minimize that. Yeah, Brian put on there Blue Spruce, and Brian did. See, Brian has been watching this show for so long, and Brian's been a photographer for as long as I can remember, and he also shot on camera raw. So camera raw, and we'll talk about this in a few weeks. I got to work on this show a little bit and try to, I mean, it's hard. You're not going to see any difference. It's just how we interact with the pictures, but and we'll talk about that in a few weeks. I'm not going to discuss that now, but if you shoot a few pictures and you have a big card, shoot raw, you'll be happy that you did. All right, let me think what else I had to touch base on here. I don't think there was anything else. So if there's no questions in the chat room, I think we are pretty well on our way to closing this show out. I hope that you learned a ton this week. There was a ton of information handed out there to you, and I truly, you know, I'm honored and I'm humbled when you folks come in there in the live shows. I mean, the live shows shows a lot of dedication to me. Shows a lot of dedication to your photography, that you want to come, you know, because it's 10 in the morning. It's a Sunday. We should be sleeping in, but, you know, you folks wake up in the morning and you want to hang out here with me for an hour or so and talk about photography. And it's a great thing. Even my wife said my whole demeanor in the house has changed because, hey, you're doing your shows again and you're happy. You're getting that camera back out there. You're shooting a lot of pictures. And I know it's getting to be fall, but this is a pretty time to shoot. So no big deal. But yeah, I'm very humbled that you're in here. If you're watching the YouTube video, thank you very much. And I'm glad that you're jumping on board there and watching these videos. We're trying to get more and more people on the YouTube video. I know the shows are long and I should be a little bit more proactive, and I should go in there because I can set key points to say, like, oh, if you want to see this video, click here. If you want to see me using a camera, click here. But, you know, just you can scrub through the YouTube video. What scrubbing through means is you can move the slider to wherever you want to watch. You don't have to watch me babbling. I mean, unless you like to hear the babble. Okay, folks, thank you very much for tuning in to the show again. If you're downloading this on iTunes, and if you're not even downloading this on iTunes, go to iTunes, find this show, The Photography Guy. If you search for Jack's Tech Corner, and then you'll see my 2 or 3, maybe 4 podcasts there. Click on The Photography Guy and add a comment. Say something like, you know, rate it. You can give it a rating, add it a comment, and say, hey, kind of like those shows. They're pretty cool. I would really appreciate that you did that. You can also subscribe and watch these on YouTube, where you see a lot more video content, because you can hear from the podcast. And I made it a podcast long time ago. The Photography Guy started out as a podcast, but I'm a show and tell guy. I like to show you things. I like to be hands-on with it. So you might want to watch the videos and check that out at 42 Technoman. The number 4, the number 2, Technoman on YouTube. And I believe you can find that channel if you go to thephotographyguy.net, or if you go to jackstechcorner.com, you can find those links. I do still have the DVD collection available. The newest one is Photoshop Elements 12 DVD. If you go to jackstechcorner.com and look on the right-hand side of the page, you can purchase that DVD on there. If you want to learn online, if you'd rather watch those videos online and have them streamed and live available to you 24/7 and not have to worry about that DVD media, sign up for my online course at jtclearning.com. Sign up today and begin learning Photoshop Elements 12 immediately. Once again, folks, if you use the code JTC5 at checkout, you'll receive $5 off. Once again, that's jtclearning.com. So, folks, I hope you have a great, great work week, and I hope that you will, before I end that, say hello to Peter. I'm glad you made it on board there this morning. Sorry that you missed most of the show there, but the video will be live and in living color on YouTube, where you can catch the rerun. Or you can catch the rerun if you want to on live stream, but I would rather you wait and just watch it on YouTube. Folks, take care. Have a great work week, and I hope you keep those shutters clicking all the time. And I always try to do this. Let me see if I can do this. Keep those shutters clicking. And keep your editors editing. I will talk to you next Sunday morning for another The Photography Guy. Take care, buddy. I'll see you back here then. Thanks for joining, and bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to The Photography Guy. I am a photography guy, and I'll be here once again next time for more photography tips and tricks. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the show and enjoy the music.